Book 1, Stage 1, Lesson 13. See chart 4. Anybody, somebody. Anybody, somebody. Both anybody and somebody means alguien. But the difference between anybody and somebody is that we use anybody for the interrogative and the negative, and somebody for the positive. Anybody, both anybody and somebody means alguien, but we use anybody for the interrogative and the negative, and somebody for the positive. For example, we say, is there anybody sitting there? Mm-hmm. Yes, there is somebody sitting there. Is there anybody sitting here? Yes, there is somebody sitting here. Or no, there isn't anybody sitting here. No, there isn't anybody sitting here. Mm-hmm. Anybody is non-specific and has a non-specific answer. While who is a specific and has a specific answer, like Mr. Brown or Mrs. Brown, etc. Anybody is non-specific and has a non-specific answer. And who is a specific and has a specific answer, as Mr. Brown, Mrs. Borjas, etc. What do the words anybody and somebody mean? What do the words anybody and somebody mean?
No, the words anybody and somebody means alguien.
Very good, very good. What's the difference between anybody and somebody? What's the difference between anybody and somebody?
The difference between anybody and somebody is that we use anybody for the interrogative
and negative.
Yeah, and negative. And somebody
for we use somebody for the positive. Good. Is it anybody, right? Anybody. Is there anybody in this room? Is there anybody in this room?
Yes, there's somebody in this room.
Very good. Is there anybody speaking to you? Is there anybody speaking to you?
Yes, there's somebody speaking to me.
Very good. Is there anybody sitting there on that chair? Is there anybody sitting there on that chair?
Yes.
Yes.
There's somebody
sitting
here on this chair.
Very good. Very good. And now, not anybody. Corridor. Not anybody. Corridor. Is there anybody sitting on the floor? Is there anybody sitting on the floor?
No, there isn't anybody sitting on the floor.
Very good. Is there anybody in this room wearing a hat? Is there anybody in this room wearing a hat?
No, there isn't anybody in this room wearing a hat.
Wearing a hat, good. Is there anybody in the corridor? Is there anybody in the corridor?
No, there isn't anybody in the corridor.
Good. And now, nobody. Nobody. Who's speaking English in this room? Who's speaking English in this room?
The teacher. Well, we're speaking
English.
We're speaking
English
in this room.
Who's speaking French in this room? Who's speaking French in this room?
No one's speaking French in this room.
Nobody's speaking.
Right,
Nobody's speaking French in this room. It's the same word. Good. Who's wearing clothes in this room? Who's wearing clothes in this room?
We're wearing clothes in this room.
We're wearing clothes in this room. Good. Who's wearing a hat in this room? Who's wearing a hat in this room?
No one's wearing a hat in this room. Nobody's wearing a hat in this room.
Good. Who's giving you an English lesson? Who's giving you an English lesson?
You're giving me an English lesson.
Very good. Good. Who's in the corridor? Who's in the corridor?
Nobody's in the corridor.
Nobody's in the corridor. Very good. And now, more vocabulary. Walk. Walk. I'm walking. I'm walking to the window. Right? What am I doing?
You're walking to the window.
Very good. Where am I walking to? Where am I walking to?
You're walking to the window.
Very good. Very good. Do you like walking? Do you like walking?
Yes, I like walking.
Good. More vocabulary. The same as. Different from. Japan. The same as, different from Japan. The same as, igual a. Right? Different from and Japan. This book's the same as this book. Right? This book's the same as the okay, this book. But this book is different from this book. This book's different from this book. This book's the same. Okay? As this book. But that book is different from this book. Are your shoes the same as my shoes? Are your shoes the same as my shoes?
No, my shoes are not
aren't the same
as your shoes, but they're different.
From your shoes, but from my shoes. Good. Are the French the same as the Russians? Are the French the same as the Russians?
No, the French are not the same as the Russians, but they're different from the Russians.
Very good. Are your eyes the same color as your mouth? Are your eyes as the same color as your mouth?
No, my eyes aren't the same color as my mouth.
Good. But they're
different from
my mouth. Good. Do the people in Germany speak the same language as the people in Japan? Do the people in Germany speak the same language as the people in Japan?
No, the people in Germany don't speak the same language as the people in Japan, but they speak a different language from the people in Japan.
Very good. Which is right to say? People are or people is? Which is right to say? People are or people is?
People are.
People are. Very good. Look at Mr. Brown, chart 1. This is Mr. Brown's suit. Okay? This is the suit of Mr. Brown. Or this is Mr. Brown's suit. We prefer to say this is Mr. Brown's suit instead of this is the suit of Mr. Brown. Right? Is this Mr. Brown's dress? Is this Mr. Brown's dress?
No, it isn't Mr. Brown's dress, but it's Mr. Brown's suit.
Very good. Is this Mr. Brown's shirt? Is this Mr. Brown's shirt?
Okay. Yes, it's Mr. Brown's shirt.
Very good. Is this Mr. Brown's arm? Is this Mr. Brown's arm?
No, it's not Mr. Brown's arm, but it's your arm.
Very good. This is Mr. Brown's ear. This is Mr. Brown's ear.
No.
No?
It isn't Mr. Brown's ear, but it's my ear.
Very good. Very good. Now, more vocabulary. Stand up. Stand up. Sit down. Sit down. Up. Down. Stand up. Sit down. Sit down. Up. Down. I'm standing up. I'm standing up. I'm sitting down. I'm sitting down. My right hand's moving. Up and down.
Yeah.
I'm standing up. I'm sitting down. I'm sitting down, and my right hand's moving up and down. What's my right hand moving? What's my right hand moving? Doing?
It's moving up and down. Your right hand's moving up and down.
Your right hand's moving up and down. What am I doing? What am I doing?
You're standing.
Standing up.
Standing up.
You're standing up. Good. What am I doing? What am I doing?
You're sitting.
Very good. Sitting down. Do you sit down after the lesson? Do you sit down after the lesson?
No, I stand up after the lesson.
But I stand up after the lesson. Very good. Next vocabulary, call. Call. We call this a mouth. We call this a mouth. We call this a tie. We call this a tie. We call this a head, for example. Okay? What do we call this? What do we call this?
We call this an arm.
Good. What do we call this? What do we call this?
We call this a pen.
Very good. What do we call this? What do we call this?
We call this a book.
Very, very good. What do we call the people in France? What do we call the people in France?
We call the people in France French people.
Good. What do we call the thing we wear on our heads? What do we call the thing we wear on our head?
We call the things we wear on our heads hats.
Hats. Good, good. And now, more vocabulary. Can't, cannot. Cannot becomes can't, the contraction. The negative of can is cannot, but the contraction is can't. What's the negative of can? What's the negative of can?
Can't. The negative
of can is can't. Good. What's the contraction of cannot? What's the contraction of cannot?
The contraction of cannot is can't.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak Chinese? Can you speak Chinese?
No, I can't speak Chinese.
Very good. Can you put the table into your pocket? Can you put the table into your pocket?
No, I can't put the table into my pocket.
Very good. Can you touch the ceiling? Can you touch the ceiling?
Yes, I can touch the ceiling.
Very good. This is the end of the lesson 13.